If you have a 1995 Italian 200 lira coin sitting somewhere in an old coin collection, a drawer, or a forgotten box of foreign coins, you may want to take a closer look before putting it away again. At first glance, this small bronze-colored coin may look like an ordinary piece of Italian currency from the 1990s. But could there be something unusual hiding in the date, mint mark, condition, or striking details? And could a rare error or exceptionally well-preserved example be worth far more than its original face value? Welcome back to Coin Collection 1, where we explore the fascinating stories behind old, rare, and collectible coins from around the world. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to Coin Collection 1, because the next valuable coin you discover could be hiding in your own collection. Today we are taking a detailed look at the 1995 Italian 200 lira coin, exploring its history, design, composition, mint mark, varieties, possible errors, collector interest, authentication, preservation, and most importantly, the question many collectors are asking: could a 1995 Italy 200 lira really be worth 1,000? To understand the potential value of this coin, we first need to identify exactly what it is. The 200 lira was one of the denominations used by the Italian Republic during the final decades of the Italian lira. The standard circulation version of the 200 lira featured a distinctive design that is instantly recognizable to collectors of Italian coinage. On the obverse, the coin displays the head of a woman facing to the right, surrounded by the inscription IPVBBLICA ITALINA. The design is associated with engraver Mario Vellucci, whose name appears as part of the coin's design. The reverse presents a completely different image, featuring a square-toothed gear, a symbol strongly connected with industry and labor, with the denomination 200 lira displayed within the design. The date appears on the lower portion of the coin, while the letter R identifies the Rome mint. That small letter R is especially important when examining this coin. On the standard Italian 200 lira circulation issue, the R represents the Rome mint. If you have a 1995 example, carefully inspect this area with a magnifying glass or a good quality camera. The mint mark should be compared with confirmed examples because collectors sometimes search for unusual varieties, die characteristics, and errors. However, it is extremely important to understand that simply finding the letter R does not make the coin rare. The mint mark is a normal part of the design. The real question is whether your individual coin has something unusual that separates it from ordinary examples. The standard 1995 Italian 200 lira was made from bronzitol, a copper-based alloy containing approximately 92% copper, 6% aluminum, and 2% nickel. The coin weighs about 5 grams and measures approximately 24 millimeters in diameter, with a milled edge. These specifications are useful when examining a suspicious coin because weight and dimensions can sometimes help identify an unusual planchet or possible alteration. However, measurements should always be taken using accurate equipment, because small differences can result from wear, dirt, corrosion, or inaccurate household scales. The 1995 date is also historically interesting because Italy was approaching the end of the famous lira era. For generations, the Italian lira had been an essential part of everyday life. People used lira coins to buy everyday goods, pay for services, and conduct ordinary transactions. By 1995, the European economy was changing rapidly, and the idea of a common European currency was becoming increasingly important. The euro would eventually be introduced, and Italy would officially leave the lira behind as its national currency. Imagine this particular 200 lira coin shortly after it was produced in 1995. Its surface would have been fresh from the mint, with sharp details and a brighter metallic appearance. It could have entered circulation through a shop, a market, or a simple everyday transaction. From there, it might have passed through dozens or even hundreds of hands. Perhaps someone carried it in a pocket, placed it in a purse, or stored it in a household coin jar. Over time, the coin could have developed scratches, contact marks, and natural wear. Eventually, it may have disappeared from everyday use and ended up in a collection. Today, it survives as a small piece of Italy's monetary history and as a reminder of a currency that has now completely disappeared from everyday transactions. This brings us to the most important question: how much is a 1995 Italian 200 lira actually worth? The answer depends on the exact condition and characteristics of the individual coin. A normal circulated example should not automatically be considered a $1,000 coin. In fact, the standard 1995 issue is a relatively modern circulation coin, and its value is generally determined by collector demand, condition, rarity, and whether it possesses a recognized variety or genuine mint error. If you see an online listing claiming that every 1995 Italian 200 lira is worth hundreds or thousands of dollars, you should be extremely careful. An asking price is not the same thing as a confirmed selling price. This is one of the most important lessons in coin collecting. Anyone can list an ordinary coin online for $1,000, $10,000, or even more. That does not mean collectors are actually paying those amounts. To determine a realistic market value, experienced collectors look at completed auction results, reputable dealer prices, professional grading information, and established numismatic references. If a coin really sells for an extraordinary price, there should ideally be reliable evidence of that transaction. So where does the possibility of a $1,000 value come from? In most cases, extremely high values are associated with something exceptional. It could be a rare and authenticated mint error, an unusual variety, an extraordinarily high-grade specimen, or another characteristic that makes the coin significantly scarcer than a normal example. A standard circulated 1995 Italian 200 lira should not be confused with these exceptional pieces. One of the most exciting possibilities is a genuine mint error. During the production of coins, the minting process involves multiple stages. Metal is prepared into blanks or planchets, the blanks are processed, and then they are struck between dies under enormous pressure. The dies transfer the design onto the metal. If something goes wrong during this process, the result can be a coin with an unusual characteristic. For example, a coin could be struck significantly off-center, producing a clearly visible area where part of the design is missing because the planchet was not correctly positioned between the dies. Another possibility is a double strike, where the coin is struck more than once and the second impression creates a clearly visible overlapping design. Other errors can involve abnormal planchets, die breaks, or unusual metal displacement. The most dramatic and visually obvious errors can attract strong collector interest, but there is a major warning here. Not every strange-looking coin is a mint error. Coins can be damaged after leaving the mint in countless ways. They can be bent, scratched, squeezed, polished, heated, chemically treated, or struck by machinery. Damage that happens after production generally does not carry the same value as a genuine mint error. This is why authentication is so important. If you believe your 1995 Italian 200 lira has a major error, do not immediately assume it is worth $1,000. First, examine the coin carefully. Look at the design and determine whether the unusual feature could realistically have happened during the minting process. Compare it with known examples and consult experienced collectors or professional grading services. If the potential value is significant, professional authentication may be the safest option. The edge of the coin can also provide important clues. The standard 200 lira has a milled edge, and unusual edge characteristics may deserve further investigation. If the edge appears completely different, damaged, or unusually distorted, photograph it from several angles. However, once again, be careful. A damaged edge is not automatically an error. The question is whether the feature is consistent with a recognized minting problem. The condition of the coin is another major factor. Collectors generally prefer coins with strong details, minimal wear, and attractive original surfaces. A heavily circulated 1995 200 lira may have scratches and contact marks from years of use. An uncirculated example may retain much more of its original appearance. Extremely high-grade examples can sometimes attract additional interest, especially when they are scarce in top condition. But even a coin in excellent condition is not automatically worth $1,000. Condition is only one part of the overall equation. If you are examining your own coin, start with the basics. Confirm the date and make sure it is actually 1995. Examine the portrait on the obverse and look carefully at the lettering. Check the reverse and inspect the 200 lira denomination, the gear design, the date, and the R mint mark. Use magnification to look for unusual doubling, missing details, or other characteristics that appear different from standard examples. Be especially careful when someone claims to have discovered a valuable double die. Many collectors mistake ordinary machine doubling or die deterioration for a rare double die. Genuine varieties usually require careful comparison with known examples. A small difference that looks exciting under magnifying glass may have little or no additional value. This is why experienced collectors rely on references and expert opinions instead of judging rarity based on appearance alone. Another interesting point is that the year 1995 also saw other 200 lira coins associated with Italian collecting, including commemorative issues from places such as Vatican City and San Marino. These coins should not be confused with the standard Italian Republic circulation coin. Their designs, historical context, and collector markets can be different. This is another reason why a clear identification is essential before assigning a value. If someone tells you that a 1995 Italian 200 lira is worth a certain amount, always make sure you are talking about exactly the same coin type. For collectors, the appeal of this coin goes beyond potential financial value. The 200 lira is part of a larger story about Italian history and European monetary change. It belongs to the final generation of lira coins that circulated before the euro became Italy's official currency. In a few short years after this coin was issued, an entire monetary system would disappear from everyday life. That historical transition makes these coins fascinating to collectors. Someone may collect Italian lira coins by denomination. Another collector may try to assemble every year in a particular series. Others may specialize in mint eras or high-grade examples. Some collectors simply enjoy owning coins from countries they have visited or currencies that are no longer in circulation. In other words, a coin's importance is not always measured by its price. Sometimes the historical story behind it is the real treasure. There is also a common myth that every old coin is automatically valuable. This is not true. Age alone does not determine rarity. A coin can be decades old and still be relatively common if large quantities were produced and many examples survived. On the other hand, a much newer coin can sometimes be extremely valuable if only a few examples were produced or if a rare error occurred during minting. This is why the 1995 Italian 200 lira should be approached with realistic expectations. The standard coin is interesting and collectible, but the extraordinary values you sometimes hear about generally require extraordinary circumstances. If an example truly sells for around $1,000 or more, there should be a specific reason. Perhaps it is an authenticated major error. Perhaps it is an exceptionally rare variety. Perhaps it is an outstanding specimen with a very high professional grade. The important thing is to identify exactly what makes that particular coin special. Preservation is also extremely important. If you believe your coin may have value, never clean it with household products. Do not use toothpaste, metal polish, baking soda, abrasive cloths, or harsh chemicals. Cleaning can permanently damage the original surface and may reduce the coin's collector appeal. Even natural discoloration or tunning can be part of the coin's history. Instead, handle the coin carefully by its edges and store it in an appropriate holder made from safe, inert materials. Keep it away from excessive humidity and extreme environmental conditions. If the coin is especially important, consider professional storage or encapsulation after authentication. If you want to investigate your own 1995 Italian 200 lira, take clear photographs of both sides of the coin. Photograph the edge as well. Take close-up images of the date and mint mark. If possible, record the coin's exact weight and diameter. These details can help specialists determine whether the coin is a standard example or something unusual. And now, let's return to that exciting $1,000 question. Could a 1995 Italian 200 lira be worth $1,000? The honest answer is that an ordinary circulated example should not automatically be valued at $1,000. However, an exceptional coin with a genuine and rare mint error, an important recognized variety, or another extraordinary characteristic could potentially command a much higher price than a normal example. The key is evidence. Extraordinary values require extraordinary proof, so if you own this coin, don't throw it away and don't assume it is a fortune either. Instead, take a closer look. Study the details, confirm the date, check the mint mark, examine the edge, look for genuine errors, Compare your coin with reliable references and verified examples, and if you believe you have discovered something truly unusual, get a professional opinion before making any decision. The 1995 Italian 200 lira may look like a simple bronze-colored coin from the 1990s, but it represents something much bigger. It is a piece of the final chapter of Italy's lira era, a small reminder of a currency that once played a central role in everyday life. It carries the story of Italian design, industrial symbolism, minting technology, and the enormous economic transformation that eventually brought the euro to Italy. And that is exactly why coin collecting is so fascinating. Sometimes the value of a coin is hidden in its rarity. Sometimes it is hidden in a tiny minting error. Sometimes it is hidden in exceptional condition. And sometimes the greatest value is simply the story that the coin carries with it. If you have a 1995 Italian 200 lira in your collection, take another look at it today. You might discover nothing more than a common example, and that is perfectly fine. But you might also discover an unusual feature that deserves further research. The important thing is to look carefully, research responsibly, and never believe an extraordinary price claim without evidence. Thank you for watching Coin Collection 1. If you enjoyed this journey into the history, design, rarity, errors, and potential value of the 1995 Italian 200 lira coin, make sure you like this video and subscribe to Coin Collection 1 for more fascinating coin discoveries from around the world. And don't forget to share this video with your friends, family, and fellow coin collectors. Most importantly, leave a comment and tell us, do you own a 1995 Italian 200 lira? Have you found any unusual details, errors, or varieties on your coin? Your discovery could be the next fascinating story we explore. Until next time, keep searching, keep collecting, and always remember, sometimes the smallest coin can carry the biggest story.